Everything, listen to the thunder. Can you hear it? Honestly. Hey, listen to that. You hear that? So good. Oh, dearie me. So hello, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the bunker, and welcome back finally to another episode of Restomods. And arguably we have one of the most iconic Restomods of them all, the Eagle Low Drag GT. Now in this line of work I have had the honor to drape my eyes over some really sexy machinery. But when this turned up and rolled in here, I actually took an hour to walk around it before we even turned on the cameras just to appreciate its shape. Now it's really important to state at this stage that what Eagle do is take an original E-Type. They're not a new car manufacturer. This is a classic E-Type, but it's fondled and fettled and evolved to tweak all of, dare I say it, any imperfections in the original car to result in the thing which I'm stood next to right now. And it might not be obvious at first. In fact, it would probably take me planting an original standard E-Type next to an Eagle for you to fully appreciate the differences. And it is a classic case of something which is much greater than the sum of its parts, because the evolutions are small, but the details are inherent. And that's what we're going to do now. Before we take you for a drive and immerse you in what it's like to drive something so beautiful, we're going to get under this bonnet and show you the magic under there, the interior, the tweaks on the exterior, and then head out and immerse you in a 4.7 litre naturally aspirated straight six from a Jaguar E-Type. Okay, I mean, this in itself, the features of an E-Type, of the bonnet, colossal bonnet, pivoting from the front of the nose of this car is something in itself, but behold the detail. So what's significant about this is the Low Drag GT has had a lot of weight saving applied to it. We'll talk about the magnesium wheels and things like that shortly, but importantly, the engine block on this is an aluminium block. There's even magnesium components in there as well. Now there are some options on this car which are very bespoke to what the client would like, be it the power of the engine, be it the paint, be it the interior. But one option is to have more conventional carbs, so this is running SU carbs, or you can have a fuel injection system, which Eagle will disguise to look like that for you. But on this car, we are running authentic old school carbs. You've got to hear these things, the way that they actuate, and the sound that you get from it is absolutely stunning. So this car is all about the attention to detail, but still kind of being true to the ethos of the original car. It's not like you would lift up the bonnet on this and go, that is an unrecognizable platform. This is very much an E-Type. But every surface, everything has been milled and polished and distilled into something that's really beautiful, tightly packaged and beautifully presented. And then I quite like the juxtaposition of the ram air intake made in carbon fiber. So there's this blend of old and new just to iron out any of the problems which came with an original 60s E-Type. You know, like starting and stopping and things like that, not breaking down in the rain. All right, let's highlight some of the cooler upgrades, for want of a better word, starting with the Radiator, which is substantially beautiful and substantially upgraded. Now, these cars could end up anywhere in the world, particularly hot climates, and you want the reliability there. And then on the topic of cool, not only aesthetically but functionally, the manifolds on this are Inconel. That's straight off Formula One car stuff, which is ultimately connected to a titanium exhaust system, which you shall hear shortly. And then we're going to go on to the suspension. They have tweaked the geometry of it to work well with newer tires, because of course when the E-Type was developed it was on cross-ply tires, and now they're running the more modern day radial tires. So the geometry is tweaked to work with new tires, but it's also linked up through an Öhlins suspension system, which is also adjustable, and that's fitted both front and rear. And then something which you probably wouldn't think of as being quite cool at first, which is the lightweight lithium-ion battery. That's the whole battery right there. If you picture that to your standard car battery, which is this big, this deep and really heavy, this is all about light weighting, but it also has a clever little brain in it. Meaning if this car was to be left for several months, which these kinds of cars quite often are, it will never let itself drain completely flat. It has a little cut-off brain in it that knows that it's going to stop energy depletion at a certain point, and then when you come back to the car, there will always be enough in it to turn the car over and get it started again. It's pretty cool details. Okay, so this is where it really gets beautiful, and shamefully we don't have smell-o-vision right now, but in here, take my word for it, it smells absolutely gorgeous. So this is actually one of Eagle's customer cars, so we're going to be very respectful of when we take this out on the roads shortly, but it's important to mention that because each one of these cars is built specifically to the customer's requests. Eagle don't just build these cars. Everything has been meticulously thought through by the client to their spec, and as you can see, this is tastefully matched with the interior to the exterior. It's got this beautiful soft green leather, but if we point the camera up here, it also has an Alcantara headlining with this gorgeous padded fluting. Now, one of the beautiful things about this is actually the placement of the pedals. Now, I stupidly am wearing too big a boots right now, but I can tell you pedal placement for heel toe is perfect. And then there's the diameter of the wheel. It's definitely smaller than in your standard E-Type, but it still has a slightly thicker rim, but maintain that wooden finish that is synonymous with the classic car. And then you've got the switch gear. A lot of this has been repurposed to suit functionality of the car, which might not have originally existed, like heated screens, front and rear. And that's one of the more practical elements added to these cars, allowing you to live with them or take them on a journey. And these dials here, these are actually reconditioned, restored, original E-Type dials. And I'm not sure, and I say this quite often on the channel, but I'm pretty sure the camera isn't doing this justice. Just to be inside it is something to behold. Do you know what? Every now and again, when we are lucky enough to film a modern classic or a Restomod on this channel, first thing that comes to mind is the way forwards backwards? And what I mean by that is modern day supercars. Listen, I'm all for them. If you follow the channel regularly, you'll know they float my boat. But the more rules and regulations that get applied to these big OEM brands, the more sedate these cars become. Dare I say it, the more safe they become. But at the same time, the performance and the speed becomes unbelievable, to the point where actually on the road, their operating window of performance is such that you can't get anywhere near it. If you do get somewhere near it, you're either going to be in prison or through the bush. And when you take them on track, because they're not particularly track cars, they kind of begin to drop off after a while. Now, okay, there are exceptions to that, like the Porsche GT3 RS. That is a phenomenal road and track car. But every now and again, you want to be in something refined, don't you? You want to be in something that's going to give you that feedback and engagement at road appropriate speeds. And that's what I mean by, is the way forwards backwards? This is the epitome of that statement. Something that you drive, and every little bit of your interaction dictates how the experience of the drive goes. The rev matching, the gear shifting, even letting the engine and components warm up or on these more conventional carbs. Everything about it is just such a beautiful experience. And I would say cars like this, their greatest party trick is being fabulous even at road legal speeds. You don't have to wring its neck in order to get enjoyment out of it. And this is twofold. One of the primary reasons for that is you know how beautiful and how cool this thing looks. Like, you're happy to just be in it. It's an honor to even be inside this car or around it and in its presence, because it's so legendary, the E-Type, and so beautiful. But then you take what Eagle have done to it and the performance of it. Now, with a weight of just over a ton. I mean, dry, it's 1,020 kilograms. So compared to modern day machinery, this thing's in a different world, and you can feel it. You can feel it in the way the car moves. It dances over the tarmac. And because it's got just the right amount of horsepower, modern day cars, they're quoting silly brake horsepower figures because everyone's trying to outdo each other in the power race. But this car, 345 brake horsepower, in modern day terms, doesn't seem that much. But because the car weighs little over a ton, it means that it doesn't hang around. And then it's naturally aspirated, truly, wonderfully naturally aspirated, which means the sound of it, listen to this. It's a purr, it's a wonderful growl. It's got such a nice tone to it. And then the way that you interact with this gearbox. Now Eagle, they build all their gearboxes themselves in-house, and the movements, it's precision. It's got such a reassuring shift to it. It's not heavy, but there is a precision to it which gives you that reassurance. And the important word here, reward, when you interact with it all. The way that the steering is weighted together with the weight of the clutch and the throttle, and then you interact with those components and then blip downshift with that lovely notchy gearbox. It's all very rewarding and reassuring, and I love that. And I'm at speeds here, you can tell by the sound of the car. I'm not on it at all, but there's engagement, there's appreciation. And actually, I don't think I've ever had so much fun going slowly. Which in this day and age is a real trick to try and master. Now then, if we are to drop back and see what this thing's like under a little bit more poke, 345 naturally aspirated, straight 6 horsepower, just over a ton. Oh, the sound! Have you heard it? And then under the rev matching, it's so good. Oh, what a thing, honestly. And you can see the iconic dome shrouding that straight 6 up front. So, capacity is up. Listen to it, the pops and bangs on the overrun. It is from a different era, yet there's something about the way Eagle have fondled and fettled this thing that gives it that sort of contemporary touch. Not to the point that it's detracted from its character, it's still very much E-Type, but everything about it is just more together. And it doesn't hang around. It does not hang about. Now under braking at this speed, everything, listen to the thunder. Can you hear it? Honestly. So it's not a substitute for a modern car. It's not like a new F-Type, for example. I mean, that's probably quite an interesting comparison. It's nothing like an F-Type, and neither is the price. At just around about £800,000 before tax, sir. Probably makes an E-Type look like great value, in fact, but that's not the point. It's what this thing offers in exclusivity and driving experience. I mean, there's rare, and then there's this. I mean, there's a handful of these. You're just not going to drive through your local village and see another Eagle E-Type. It's not going to happen. So yes, I think the overriding summary here is it is achingly cool, and for me further reinforces what you don't need for enjoyment on the road, and that's bonkers horsepower. You just need a good, engaging, lightweight driver's car. And that's exactly what this is, with disproportionate beauty thrown in for good measure. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Ciao!